In 10 Miles to Safety, every save file is actually two save files. We call them a hard save and a soft save, and they exist for each and every character you create. Hard saves are permanent, game-scripted save files created automatically, happening only under two possible circumstances: successfully completing a story mission, such as the hospital, docks checkpoint, or ferry, or surviving a night and successfully progressing into the next day. Soft saves, on the other hand, are very volatile, manually created save files that only happen when you physically save and quit the game yourself. Upon loading a save file, the game first checks to see if you have a soft save for this character, and if one doesn't exist, only then loads from your hard save. Soft save volatility is a very serious point to clarify. These saves have a special property about them in that they're deleted every single time you load back into your game, and don't persist around like hard saves do. Since the save is deleted upon loading back into a game, and the only way to create a new one is to manually save and quit the game yourself, then any other method of leaving the game results in the permanent loss of this data. Leaving the game due to game crashes, power outages, Alt F4, ending in Task Manager, and even the peculiar case of saving and quitting after dying in water but before spawning back in. Curiously enough, that's the only source of death that behaves like this, and it's anybody's guess as to what's going on with that last one in particular. But in any case, all of these result in your soft save being permanently deleted, losing all progress since whenever you had your last hard save. The casual player will experience this as a sudden and inexplicable reset in game progression, loading you back really far and forcing you to play a potentially large section of the game. The not-so-casual player, such as a speedrunner, will use this to jump between sections of the game for practicing tricky skips, like, for example, to practice ferry skip over and over again. To do this, simply make a hard save just before the ferry by surviving a night using one of the many glitch spots in this section of the game. Complete ferry skip, which involves a manual save of the game. And rather than being stuck in the city now, where you normally would have to play through the entire game from the start just to practice ferry skip one more time, instead, here we can simply Alt F4, or use that weird trick where you save and quit after dying in water. Seriously, what's going on with that? And finally, load back in to find yourself back at the ferry, ready to immediately practice that skip again. But there's one more detail about this trick that's useful to speedrunners. In fact, it's useful for pretty much anybody who likes to abuse these game mechanics. Historically, although the ability to save and quit has always been in the game, it was originally just a way to keep your gear and stats, but not forward game progression. The change to include saving forward game progression was added in early access version 1.06, just one version after the legendary Halloween update. I would have loved to tell you this was the update that pioneered the monumental addition of death resets, but unfortunately it was the version just after this one. The Halloween update in the game would unfortunately be the last one not to feature the following trick. When they introduced the new progression saving system in early access version 1.06, they didn't properly account for all cases, and actually missed something small but very important. Specifically, dying in 10 Miles to Safety actually still contains all of their old legacy load priority. You see, upon death, the game loads you back into the position of your last soft save with the gear of your last soft save, but at the time of your last hard save. Since soft saves can be created whenever you want, this means you have the option of avoiding any and every nighttime defense by saving and quitting the game, creating a soft save, loading back in, and dying by any means. Upon respawn, you'll be pleasantly greeted with your same exact gear and game progression, but at the time of your last hard save. We call this trick a death reset. It's important to note that this is in fact loading back into the same time as your most recent hard save. Death resetting when you beat your last story mission late in the day will be disappointing to say the least. If you plan to use this glitch and want to get the best results, always make sure you're doing a death reset just before starting a story mission. The timer will stay paused during the mission itself, so you'll be able to keep your hard save's time of day minimized and help all future death resets. Fully abused, this trick means you can easily beat the entire game on day one without ever having to deal with the night sequence. In fact, this is exactly what we do in speedrunning, since the night takes up time and we can't be having that. The only downside of this trick is that your player statistics are also reset back to that of your last hard save. These are the counters for things like days survived, infected killed, anything like that. So please keep this in mind if you're trying to go for any of the achievements that involve these. So that's all you need to know about death resets. Feel free to try them out for yourself and add them to your ever-growing arsenal of tricks for this game.